Hi everyone, welcome back to Learning with Haneen. So in today's video, we're going to be finishing the January 2025 Geometry Regents. I apologize for not completing the multiple choice in the last video. I saw that the length of the video was rather long. I'm going to try to keep this video much shorter. There's just a lot of content, but I also want you guys to really understand the process behind everything. So when you guys go and take the test, it's not a moment of memorization, but it's a moment of understanding, so you guys know exactly what to expect. Because as I said, the Regents has changed. It hasn't changed in its content, it has just changed in the way that they might ask their questions. So it's important for you guys to understand the concepts rather than just memorize. So without further ado, let's get started. So we left off at question 15. So question 15 says, in parallelogram ABCD below, diagonals AC and BD intersect at E. Which transportation would map triangle ABC onto triangle CDA? So the triangles that we are being asked about are triangle ABC, which is this triangle right here, and triangle CDA, which is this triangle right here. So they're asking which transformation is going to let us reach this point where triangle ABC would be mapped onto CDA. So if we looked at answer choice number 1, it says a reflection over AC. So that would mean that I would have to take AC, that would be the line of my reflection, and I have to reflect each side onto that. So if I take side AB and I reflect it over it, my side is going to end up being somewhere right here. So it's not going to be reflected onto triangle CDA. So I know that already cannot be my answer. Now it says a reflection over DB. Well, already that is not part of the triangle. Not part of a triangle. So it's already not part of the triangles I'm asked about. So when it says line reflection over DB, it's not part of the triangles I'm asked about. So I know already that cannot be the answer. So I'm gonna cross it out too. And 3 says a clockwise rotation of 90 degrees about point E. So I'm just going to erase everything. So if I take triangle ABC, right, and I rotate it 90 degrees clockwise, I'm going to end up having a triangle that looks kind of like, it's gonna look something like this. It's gonna be standing up straight. It's kind of like something like this. So we'd have A, B, C, kind of like it would be facing downward. So that is not triangle CDA. So that cannot work. But if I add another 90-degree rotation and I rotate this once more, I'm going to end up getting my triangle rotated correctly, because my C is going to end up where my A is, my B is going to end up where my D is, and my C is going to end up where my A is. So that would form my new triangle, and that would map it onto it. So answer choice number 4 is going to be your answer for question number 15. Question 16 says, the square pyramid drawn below has a volume of 175. If the height of the pyramid is 21, what is the perimeter of the base? So this is my base. This is what I'm asking about. I'm asking for the perimeter. And what I can see is that it is a square pyramid. So if it's a square, I know my perimeter is going to be side times the side times 4. So the length of one side times 4, because in a square, all sides are congruent, meaning that they are the same length. So how do I find the measurement of my side? Well, I know that the formula for a pyramid is V equals 1/3 base height. So I know it's going to be V equals 1/3. I don't know my base, but I know my height to be 21. I know my volume is 175. And when I do that, I have 175 equals 7b. I divide by 7 and I get b equals 25. So 25 is the area of my base. That is the measurements of my base. So if I know that is the area of my base and I want to find the side length of one side of the square, what I can do is I can take the square root of 25 and get 5 to be the length of one side. And see, this is how they're trying to trick you with this question. They're asking you about perimeter. So I'm going to see, okay, base, well, that is my base, so obviously the perimeter is going to be 25. But the base, that is the measurement of the area. Because if I have a side length of 5 times 5 is going to give me an area of 25. Whereas if I have my perimeter, which I know is side times 4 for a square, my perimeter is going to be 5 times 4, and my perimeter is going to be 20. Answer choice number 3. Question number 17. I'm going to zoom out so we can see the entire question. A glass fish tank is designed to be placed on a stand in the corner of a room with perpendicular walls. The tank can be modeled using part of a cylinder, as shown below. The inner length of the fish tank along the wall is 22 inches, and the height of the tank is 27 inches. How much water to the nearest gallon does the fish tank hold? And I'm told that 1 gallon equals 231 inches cubed. So, I see a cylinder. So the first instinct that I get is to go and use the cylinder formula on my reference sheet, which is V equals pi r squared h. And I know that is an instinct, but I want you to recall the question. It says that the glass fish tank is designed to stand in a corner of the room. And we can see that the diagram, this is not a full circle. So we cannot use the cylinder formula as is. But what we do notice is that the portion of the fish tank is a fourth of a cylinder. Because if I have a circle, right, and it stands in the corner, I'm going to get a fourth that is visible, while the 3/4 is going to be by the wall. So this is how it is shown in the fish tank. So this is my fish tank, and the other sides of the circle are parts of the wall. So that's why when I use my formula, instead of just using V equals pi r squared h, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do V equals 1/4 pi r squared h. Because the fish tank is only a fourth of the cylinder measurements. Okay? So I need to find my volume first. So I know V equals 1/4 pi. My radius is 22. Squared times my height of 27. And I put that in and I do it first, and I'm going to get V equals 13,068. And then I'm going to divide that by, well, times it by 1/4 or divide it by 4. And I'm going to get V equals, don't forget your pi, 3267 pi. Do not do the pi until the end, please, because that is going to prevent that rounding error. So V equals 3,267 pi. Okay? And then what I want to do is I'm going to apply this right here. It says, how much water to the nearest gallon does the fish tank hold? So this is my fish tank. My fish tank is in inches cubed. So 1 gallon is 231 inches cubed. I don't want to know how much my tank holds. I like setting up my ratios. It makes it easier for me. So when I set up this ratio, what I'm going to get is I'm going to have to do 3,267 pi divided by 231, and I'm going to get the answer of 44.431. Sorry about that. that again. 44.431 rounded. And this one says to the nearest gallon, so I know that it's going to be 44 gallons approximately. Okay? So, this question pretty straightforward. The only thing that can cause some confusion is the fact that it is not the entire cylinder, rather it is 1/4 of the cylinder. Question 18, I'm going to zoom in back again. Line M, whose equation is y equals negative 2x plus 8, is dilated by a scale factor of 1/2 centered at the origin. Which equation represents the image of line M? So, when I have a line and it undergoes a dilation, what I want you guys to remember is my slope remains the same. Do not change your slope. So when they have a line and it undergoes a dilation, the slope remains the same. Your y-intercept changes by the scale factor. Intercept changes by your scale factor. So here, in this case, I can eliminate answer choices 1 and 3 because it changes my slope. Now, 2 and 4. I know that I said when I have a dilation in a line, my slope remains the same. Okay, slopes are the same. And my y-intercept changes by the scale factor. So if I have 8 times 1/2, I'm going to get 4. So my new y-intercept is 4, and that is going to give me answer choice number 2. Okay? Pretty straightforward. Now, in right triangle, RST below, altitude SV is drawn to hypotenuse RT. Which statement is always true? So for this question, I want you to remember your altitude rule, which states that side 1 over altitude is equal to altitude over side 2. But I also want you to remember your leg rules, which state that side 1 over leg 1 equals leg 1 over the hypotenuse, or side 2 over leg 2 equals leg 2 over hypotenuse. So now, Haneen, I'm giving all of these. How do I know how to apply it? So, this is how you're going to apply it. You know that SV is your altitude. Okay? You know that RT is your hypotenuse. Okay? Now, RS, let's call this leg 1. Right? Remember, when we have a right triangle, there's 2 legs and there's a hypotenuse. So this is leg 1. This is going to be my leg 2. This is going to be side 1. And this is going to be side 2. See how side 1 is with leg 1. Side 2 is with leg 2. Now, how do I apply these to my answer choices? So, if we take the altitude, for instance, it tells me side 1. So my side 1 is RV over my altitude, which is SV, right? Is equal to my altitude, which is SV, over my side 2, which is VT. Okay? Now, for my leg rules, the first one says side 1, which is RV, over leg 1, which is RS, is equal to leg 1, which is RS, over hypotenuse, which is RT. Leg 2 says side 2, which is VT, over leg 2, which is, side 2, which is VT, over leg 2, which is ST, is equal to leg 2, which is ST, over my hypotenuse of RT. Now let me look at my answer choices to see which one matches. So the first one says RT over ST. Well, I have ST over RT, and these are interchangeable. Is equal to ST over VT. As long as I can see that my thing matches up, that works. So this answer choice is valid. Number 2 says VR. Where do I see VRs? I see VRs in these two. Over VT. I don't have a VR over VT, so I know that does not work. This one says RV over SV over SV, which I do not have. I have RV over SV, which I do have, so I have that part, is equal to SV over RT. No, I have RV over SV is equal to SV over VT, so I know that does not work. And 4 says TR I have RT over VR. I don't have a VR, so I know that is incorrect. So my answer choice is going to be 1. I apologize if I am redundant, if I reiterate certain things, or if I jumble up my words. I apologize about that. Question 20 says, what is the measure what is the measure in radians of a central angle that intercepts an arc length of 12 pi centimeters in a circle with a diameter of 36 centimeters? So, I have my circle, right? It is at a central angle and it intercepts an arc. And I need to find the value of my angle. So, my arc length is 12 pi with a diameter of 36, so I know that the radius is 18. And I'm going to apply my formula of arc equals a radius times my angle. So I know my arc length is 12 pi, I know my radius is 18, and I need to find my angle. I divide by 18, 12 pi over 18, I can simplify by dividing by 6, and I'm going to get 2 pi over 3 as the measure of my angle. So I use the arc formula that I must know. Question 21 says, a regular nonagon has a central point P. What degree of rotation about point P will carry the nonagon onto itself? So a nonagon has 9 sides. And I want to know the degree of rotation. So I know what I can do is I can do 360, total number of degrees, and divide that by my sides to get 40. So I know that at every increment of 40 degrees, at point P, the nonagon will carry itself. So that means at 40 degrees, at 80 degrees, at 120 degrees, at 160 degrees, at 200 degrees, at 240 degrees, at 280 degrees, at 320 degrees, and at 360 degrees is going to carry onto itself. So out of all my answer choices, the only answer choice that fits in this 40 increments is 200, and I know that is going to be my answer choice number 4. So for this question, they're testing to see if you guys understand what it means by rotation and what it means to rotate it onto itself. So when you find the degrees that it must be rotated at to reach it being rotated onto itself, if it's rotated 40 degrees, it's going to be onto itself. If it's rotated 80 degrees, it's going to be rotated onto itself. If it's rotated 320 degrees, it's going to be rotated onto itself. So it just has to be in those increments of the measurements. Question 22 says, if 2 sides of a triangle have length of 2 and 7, the length of the third side should be. So this tests the triangle inequality theorem. So the triangle inequality theorem says that the sum of 2 sides must be greater than the third side, and the sum of the 2 sides must be greater than the third side, and the difference of the 2 sides must be less than the third side. So let's apply the first rule that says that the sum of the two sides must be greater than the third side. So I'm given my triangle, and it has two sides and 7, 2 and 7, and I need to find the length of the third side that could be possible. So 2 plus 7 equals 9. So the sum of the third side of the sum of the two sides is 9. So the third side has to be less than 9. Well, it can't be 9 at this point, right? So that doesn't work. Now, it says that the difference of the two sides must be less than the third side. So, that means that my two sides, I have 7 minus 2, which equals to 5. So that means the difference of the two sides must be less than the third side. So the difference is 5. So 5 has to be less than the third side. So it can't be 5, and it can't be 4. So my answer is left to be 8. Because 8 is less than 9, but it's greater than 5. So when I have the two sides of 2 and 7, they're going to be greater than 8. But when I subtract them and get the difference, it's going to be 5, and 8 is going to be greater than 5. Question number 23 says, the car tire shown in the photograph below has a diameter of 2/4 feet. Approximately how many rotations will the tire make in 1 mile? So, before we get started, what we want to recall is that 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So, and we know that the diameter of the car tire is 2/4 feet, which in other words, to make it easier on ourselves, is 9/4 feet or 2 25 feet. So I have my mile, which is 5,280 feet. One rotation is 2.25 feet. So I need to find out how many rotations it must do to complete the mile. So what I would do is I'm going to divide 528 divided by 2.25. But don't forget your pi. You want to remember your pi over here, because this is asking about the circumference of the circle. So the circumference of my circle is C equals pi d, right? Or pi r, or C equals 2 pi r. So I know my diameter is 2/4 feet, pi, and that is my circumference. So I'm going to divide 5,280 divided by 2.25 pi. And I'm going to get 746.96. So if I get 746.96 and there's a couple of digits after that, I'm going to round that to equal 747. Okay? Do not forget your pi. I was going to forget my pi, but I remembered that. If it's one rotation, I'm taking the circumference because it's going all the way around. And if the circumference is pi d, I know that my diameter is 2 1/4 feet and times pi, so I get 2.25 pi feet, and then I divide that and I do 5,280 divided by 2.25, and I'm going to get my answer of 747. Last question for the multiple choice. In quadrilateral town, OW, line segment OW is congruent to line segment TN, and line segment OT is congruent to line segment WN. Which additional information is sufficient to prove quadrilateral town is a rhombus? So, there are a couple of ways or a couple of criteria that must be met to prove that something is a rhombus. So, to prove something is a rhombus, it proves that all sides are congruent. There is diagonals are perpendicular. We have diagonals bisect opposite angles. We have diagonals form congruent right angles. Right angles. And we have they form two pairs of congruent isosceles triangles. That was a bad spelling. Triangle. So I have my quadrilateral right here, and I need to prove it's a rhombus. So it tells me I have T, O, W, N. It tells me that that OW is congruent to TN and OT is congruent to WN. Prior to proving it's a rhombus, I can already prove that it's a parallelogram because opposite sides are congruent. So this is already a parallelogram. So that don't help me to prove it's a rhombus. So let's look at my answer choices. It says that ON, so it's giving us diagonals, diagonal ON is perpendicular to TW. Well, that works because diagonals must be congruent in order to prove something is a rhombus. So plausible answer choice. Then it says, I'm going to erase my diagonals that I drew here. TO, this right here, is perpendicular to OW. Well, if they're perpendicular, then I only get one right angle, but that does not help me. Now, OW is parallel to TN. Well, if this is parallel and this is parallel, and I already know they're congruent, that just proves it's a parallelogram. Doesn't work. So this is proving parallelogram. And this one right here that discussed the angles, the perpendicular lines, when they do perpendicular lines, it's going to form a rectangle. Because I'm going to get this, that this is a right angle. So when they bisect, they get a right angle, and I'm going to get another right angle. And because I have two sides are congruent, then I'm proving that it is a rectangle. And this one says ON and TW bisect each other. Well, they bisect each other, but they don't bisect and form opposite congruent opposite angles, and they don't bisect the angles. So therefore, that does not aid me at all. And also, when it bisects it, it's going to create the diagonals to be congruent. So therefore, that is also proving that it is a rectangle. So that doesn't help. So my answer choice is going to be 24. So for question 24, answer choice 1 is your answer. And that is the end of the multiple choice. I'm going to keep this video short and small with the rest of the questions that I did not finish for the multiple choice. So please, 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 please look through these videos. For the multiple choice, I'm going to be moving on to the written responses. If you have any questions, I know that I'm going to post these videos and your test is going to be in a day. I apologize again for the delay in these videos. I just had a lot going on, especially because I am a senior, if many of you guys do not know that. So a lot of things are going on, but this the least I can do is to help you guys. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me tomorrow.